Good morning, Leadworks engineers. Today we've got another exciting episode of Weekend Workshop for you, where we will review the the development progress from the last week, and talk about planned progress for the next week. This is actually a very cool week because I was able to get out something that I've wanted to do for a very long time, and I was able to get the very first version out to you, and that is the integrated download system. This is all built on the InVision community software, which we use for forum, blogs, store, gallery. Very, very powerful software, and it's very easy to set up very advanced functionalities thanks to the REST API that the software provides. So what I this is all of this data is coming from our website, and all of these items are uploaded on our website, and they're easily accessible. And this is like, okay, so we had an earlier version of something like this. We had integration with the Ambient CG web API before they made breaking changes to their API, but the feature was so useful, and I ended up using it so much, I never wanted to go anywhere else to download materials. So we've got all the materials, all the CCO materials from Ambient CG, from PBRPX, and from Polyhaven are all uploaded in the system. Each one of these categories probably has about 6 pages of results. There's a ton of very high quality materials in here at 1K and 2K resolution. Other categories include skyboxes, 3D models, maps, and audio. And as we continue, finishing this, I think we can add a section for code components, section for post-processing effects, Klepto 2, talk to me, game templates, and plugins for the editor. What I think I'm gonna start calling extensions plugins, because that's what everybody understands them to be. So with that, you can just click on what you want, and it downloads it immediately. I have also, for skyboxes, I posted some code yesterday I figured out. So Ambient CG has a bunch of skyboxes that look like this. And the problem with these is it's nice that the ground is cut out, because then you don't have a field or a city or whatever. The problem with these is when they get when they get blurred to make the diffuse reflection, you end up with very, very dark lighting in your scene, because fully half of the reflection map is pure black. So, like, by default, everything's 50% the resolution or the brightness that it should be. My solution to this is to take the top half of the panorama and flip it vertically, and then apply a Gaussian blur to it, and then you end up with something like, I posted my code here. That's with the blur added, and then my final version, it flips it adds a blur, and then it darkens it just a little bit, which looks a little bit more natural, so you don't have bright reflections on downwards facing surfaces. But you can get the code right here, and this takes about less than 3 minutes to run on an 8K panorama. But I'm going to use this, and I think I'm just going to run all of these skyboxes through it, and then make the fixed panorama and turn it into our environment maps, and then upload it in the system. Let me show you where all this content is being uploaded. Downloads system. This is what it looks like on the web. So we're just fetching all of this content and displaying it in an interface that I feel is actually quite a bit better looking, and it's kind of specifically designed for what we're doing. One little trick I found is if you have a square image, it works best to display it with the contain Pixmap alignment setting, so the entire image is contained within that. But if it's not a square image, the cover setting works better, and then it just makes sure that the entire background here is filled. Those are analogous. It's not using any HTML for this, but those settings are sort of there's some CSS background. I think it's background size properties that act in a very, very similar manner. So that was an interesting little thing I found. So what can we fill this up with? What can we deliver? Like the PBR materials? Yes, definitely. Like we have all the PBR materials you could ever need. This is especially good for terrain, but it's great for every kind of surface you can imagine. We have pretty much like all of your base materials are totally covered here. Skies, we have enough. When I get those uploaded, I think there's enough variety here that there'll be a sky for pretty much every kind of weather you could want. So I'm happy with those. I'm happy with the PBR materials are fantastic. We've got, I mean, definitely more than enough there. We also have 3D models. I have a lot of. I'm not sure how to approach this because it seems like anything that I do is just going to be a drop in the bucket of what people want, and it's also not 3D models are actually not as big of a problem because since you can just easily import a GLTF file, and those are widely available now. So I think it's probably not even as important to have as many 3D models as like the PBR materials. Those are actually harder to import into the engine because there is no standard for them.
The only thing I would argue with that is like make them game ready so they have like the collision shapes and everything and the LODs and setup. That's like the only thing I would prefer. But you can't always be sure that the person uploaded them to be game ready
Yeah,
without some
yeah. There's definitely
altering
like
process.
extra tuning you can do, um, but it's also like okay, so what 3D models are needed?
Well, like I like for me, it's really great to have like just junk props to just help build the scene,
What's a
and
junk
they're
prop?
like chairs,
Okay, so you need the
tables,
chairs and you need tables, wooden or metal.
wood, metal, light fixtures, door frames, doors,
If we're
railings.
talking textures and stuff, materials and assets, 3D models, are we able to be realistic as possible with some interior designs for buildings, aka tables, chairs for like office buildings, military buildings, stuff like that?
What's the question?
Are we restricted with the 3D models that you'll be installing in the next version of LeadWorks, or do we have a broad range of 3D models to have access to?
I mean, are you asking like what I've uploaded?
What you've uploaded, yes, and what will be uploaded in the near future,
They're
if
not limited. It's just like we're just making trying to make things as easy as possible.
Well, I mean,
I mean,
you can get a GLTF file from anywhere. The question is, what are we going to try to make available through this system? And so I'll show you who the best artist on Sketchfab is. This is the best artist on
Yeah, I think I used their stuff in the PS demo.
Whoever this is, they've got really, really excellent stuff. It's all good quality and it's consistent, and they just keep churning it out. So a lot of the stuff you guys are talking, oh, look at that. A lot of the stuff you guys are talking about is available just on this one account.
Yeah, but with that, you gotta build like with the stairs and all. You gotta build that shape. You gotta build like the the
Oh,
collision
it
map.
depends on like how much effort do you want to put into it.
As realistic as possible with my project.
Well, realistic, it's already. I mean, he's talking more about like collision shapes and LODs. I think. Um,
Yeah, like having them be like game ready, so you don't have to worry about
yeah,
it. But
and in some cases, like doors and stuff, it would be. I mean, you could make it better by adding like a hinge and a script on it so that it responds. But at the same time, like doing that kind of stuff is a lot of work.
So even these models are 3D ready and to be implemented into the game, are they able to be edited and modded by ourselves, or are they solely just for download and implementation use only?
Well, the license on these, on most of these, is Creative Commons by attribution. So you can download it, you can modify it in a modeling program, um, and you can use it in a commercial game, and you can upload it, you can sell it. You just have to keep the attribution. So
yeah, we did that a lot with the FPS demo.
yeah, so you could download, this cabinet, and you could download all of these things and then make a scene with it and put it in a game or sell it. And as long as you say like, these models, part of this came from this person, then the
Like in the
usage is
credits.
fine. Yeah, like how you just have to have like a text file with the file that.
Yeah, we just I think we just had a file called like models or sketchfab, and then it just had all the attribution like notices you can copy and paste in there. And it's just a list of models we use.
There's your office
Yeah,
cubicle.
that's exactly sort of stuff that I was like trying to figure out. Instead of having to do it myself and design it digitally, I'm no 3D artist myself,
Yeah,
but
there's a link to it. Best artist on Sketchfab.
thank you.
You just have to create an account, and all the stuff is available already in GLTF. Most of it will work if you just drop it in.
Yeah,
Scroll up.
some
Can you,
things you need to
What's that?
go in Blender. All
can you
right.
scroll up to the container? I think you can't use this in the game.
Because Maersk.
Wouldn't that be breaking
Yeah, because
that'd be
there's a
breaking
trademark.
copyright.
Okay.
There's a trademark on.
Yeah,
Well,
but
that's
you
between
have
you
to
and
texture
Maersk,
it.
not between. Probably.
Is that how it's spelled correctly though?
I think
I'm
so.
sure that's not the.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's a European like freight company, right?
Yeah.
I would know because I'm American.
I just know because Lego has a train set that has like that has this same thing, and like all their stuff is like based on European brands.
Yeah, I would use the model. I would just try to make a new texture for it.
Yeah, this is great quality stuff.
Mm.
Should I
And it's
spend
really
time
great.
on this, or is it? I mean, you can download. I mean, you can still download all this stuff on Sketchfab right now. So I don't know if it's something that I should put effort into.
I think not now, but when Sketchfab ever goes away, I think then it'll be more a use of your time.
Yeah.
Should ask her if she is interested into putting it into your database as well.
Well, I mean, the question is, why would they do that?
Are you saying Sketchfab is going or
Probably.
planning to be? Oh, okay. But isn't it a main 3D design model website? Isn't it like used by like 80% of any
Yeah,
developer for games?
yeah. Epic bought it, and now they want you to use their site, and they changed the license so it benefits them and screws up everyone else.
Well, yeah. So Epic it
Mhm.
bought Sketchfab and they moved everything to Fab, and then but the problem is the license on Sketchfab, the licensing is like you can download all this stuff and that's an extremely permissive license. You can use it commercially. All you have to do is give them attribution. Um, the license on Fab is more restrictive. So a lot of these items are being released on Fab with a more restrictive license, where as long as your game isn't making money, then then it's free. But then you have to pay if you start making money or something like I don't know. You'll have to check with them for the
And
details.
there was like a clause like, oh, if you use our engine, you don't have to worry about this.
Right, something like that. But yeah, this is really good stuff. Um, I don't want to do any commercial. I don't want to do any paid items in this system right now because I just want to get people using the free. I just want to focus on a lot of free stuff. But um, what uh, if these models were either converted and prepared with like collision shapes and whatever else they need, LODs if necessary, maybe made into a scene, into a complete scene. Would that be something you guys would be interested in buying?
Uh,
Completely 100% yes.
yes, it feels like a pack or something, like an organized pack, like those light switches, right? I remember downloading those light switches. Those are very high poly and everything. So,
Mm-hmm.
but like a model like that, like any of these models that like are shown multiples, you actually have to break them up and then re-export them. It's
Yeah, because it's
really,
all a single file. Yeah, like
yeah. So I think,
all of these are just a single model file.
So
yeah.
you would
So
have to cut them up. Okay, so
yeah, you have to go in and like split them all up. So like that radio scene in the FPS demo, that was all one model. And I went in, I had to separate all the models and all the, like the desk lamp and everything, the books, and I had to convert them into separate models. And it took me and then I had to generate lots for them. And it actually took me like a few hours to do. It was actually a lot of work, but I think having like those types of things as paid items is definitely valuable.
so hypothetically, if I were to spend tomorrow roughly 12 hours I've got spare downloading everything off this website from this person, putting it into one massive file, um, saving that for future references. Hint, hint, Josh, if you ever need it.
I've already
Um,
downloaded everything.
oh, okay.
Yeah, we use this model.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think yeah, I split those up and everything, and then we generate the logs too.
Yeah, the beta version of the engine, it has built-in LOD generation now. That's really it's like the best I've ever seen. It's really good. And so we're like, I think these were how many polys was this?
A lot.
Like
I
sixty
think
thousand or something.
yeah, but it was like really good. Like we still kept like the main mesh as like log one or log zero because we thought, hey, this would be very cool to see in VR. But I did generate LEDs for that.
Yeah, yeah. This artist is fantastic, and their work is all like really good for games. Anyways, yeah. So the reason I'm asking is I don't really want to. I don't really want to be a person who, I want to be the person who makes the engine. But if there's a market, and people will buy 3D models, I think that's going to be the one thing that we can't like complete scenes and packs. I don't think we're going to get that for free, not of very good quality. But if there's an interest in it, then maybe I'll have to be the one who gets it started, but maybe other people will be interested in selling, complete scenes and packs that are ready to use through this system. It does support it. It's not enabled right now, but in the future we could support that.
So does the system support like packaged assets? Like when let's say I make like a simple like I don't know, just like an FPS pack where it comes with a simple weapon, some ammo, a health pack, whatever. Could I upload that as a pack, or would I need to upload all that as one, as like individually? I'm sorry.
Okay, so the way it works. Okay, so when it installs an item, like materials will just get installed into. It uses the category it's in to decide what subfolder to install it into. So anything in here will get extracted into materials/concrete.
All right.
With models, because you usually have like a bunch of extra textures, and you have a bunch of different. It's not just a model file. So this file, it'll add the name of it. So this will get extracted to models/architecture/train station, blah 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 blah, and then and that'll be the folder, and then the model file will be inside that folder. Maps, or I might rename this to environments. They get because they have files in all different folders. They get extracted to to the base folder of the project. Why are you not refreshing? Okay. So maps will get extracted to the base folder of the project because they've got files. Typically, they've got files everywhere. So,
right.
Yeah, I actually might move the FPS demo into this category right here and just make it available there, because that's what it is. It has files in every folder, but it doesn't include any unique code. So technically it's an environment, it's a map or a scene or whatever.
Right, and that'll cut the installation time away from the engine too.
Yeah, for the Steam build, yeah, certainly.
Well, you said you also want to do like simpler examples of, like an FPS game, a racing game, a RPG game, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you should ship those assets with the engine, and the higher quality stuff should be, optional.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, because usually when people, I mean, everyone's different, but usually when I just want to get an idea, just conceptualize, especially like in a programmer space, I kind of just happy with just having something. Like it doesn't have to be like the final model. It just needs to be something. So
yeah, and that also helps. I mean, that helps us like focus on the gameplay and the code instead of getting
right.
Instead of getting stuck on.
Yeah, because because when you start something, you want to see art first because you can program stuff. Well, a lot of other people are the opposite. They know they can do the art, but they don't know that they can program, and they don't want to invest in the art unless they know they can program. So
yeah. So don't worry.
I'm half and half.
Yeah. So you don't. I've downloaded up until about November or December. I've downloaded everything this artist has. I haven't downloaded their very latest stuff since like December, but don't worry about trying to archive everything they have because I've already got most of it. These stairs are really beautiful.
Would you be able to compress that and send it over, or by any chance, would you be able to send that over?
I don't know, because I don't know how. I have like
a lot.
I've got like hundreds of gigs of models
Oh, is it that
from
many?
from
Oh,
different
okay.
sources. Yeah, it's like I bought like a 4 terabyte drive to store everything in it. So I'm not sure. I'd have to check before I give you an answer on that. This is really nice. Um, See, in this
She
case,
puts
like
the
also
detail.
I would also want to like resize this very precisely so that it lines up on
Right.
the grid. That would all just make it a lot easier to work with.
Yeah, because I think they're just using standard metrics, not like our like traditional. I think
Everything
it's
works
I think
better when
the
it's a power of two. I mean, it doesn't have to, but it just makes it so much
yeah
easier to work with.
yeah, but unfortunately, a lot of people use Power of 10 or 5, wherever it is.
Yeah.
The other
Or
systems
they
don't.
just don't use anything more
Yeah,
more frequently. Um, yeah, so that's available right now. It's not ready for Steam users because you have to be logged into your account to
and
to
we lost
access
them.
it. What's that? Um, you have to be logged into your account to access it because the system it generates like a temporary URL to that Amazon S3 accepts. It doesn't actually give you the real URL for where the file is stored, which is very smart. But yeah, this is all powered by Envision Community. Any questions about that before we move on to the next topic?
Not at this time.
That's a no from me.
Okay. So some small updates on the new IDE that we showcased last week. It now supports GLSL shader files and as well as shader family and post-processing effects. And I'll continue to. There's a few more little things I want to add to it, but that's the feedback from that has been very good so far on the forum. Have you guys had a chance to use this?
No, but I want to. Like, I was just like, I was talking about someone a little with someone else, and I was like, oh, well. And I mentioned that I'm more like interested in using Lua for the component space stuff in my future projects because of like how like now integrated it is, how more part of the editor experience it is. Because um, like you mentioned last week, or the week before, like when you have to use like visual code to like use your game, like it like it just takes you out of the experience. Where if it like one thing that Godot does is that your code never leaves the editor, and now since with the IDE now that you kind of like replicated that, so that's really good.
Well, yeah, we did that in LeadWorks 4, and I think
Yeah, but
better approach than having a separate IDE, especially for beginners, because the install process for Visual Studio Code is not great, and it's just got like I think I showed like last week actually like it's one of those programs where nobody like I use it and I don't know what 95% of it does.
right.
Um,
I think with Levelix 4, I feel like you were forced to use like Lua. It was a Lua first engine, while Levelix 5 is now just like, oh, you pick your flavor and you can
Now you
mix and
get
match.
you get to use Lua.
Yeah, yeah, but and then we had a lot of questions about mixing the two. I might write a blog post on how to do that, so we can
I
just.
honestly like I wouldn't recommend anybody do that. Um,
Well, I
I
can
plan
write
on
something
doing
up.
that, but the
Yeah.
reason you would do that is for modding,
My
and
Yeah.
main source of code is Lua. That's my main training.
No, and that's accessible.
I would
You
just
know,
yeah, I would stick with Lua. I wouldn't try to mix C++ and Lua because that would just make things unnecessarily complicated.
well, it's an interesting concept, but you would have to structure. You would actually have to put a lot of thought in structuring your application in order to do that.
I plan on doing that, but I'm only doing it for modding, and I'm not going
Right.
to put a lot of effort into modding until the game is first successful. And
Correct.
that would be what I would recommend to anybody because like if nobody wants to play your game, adding mods to it change that situation.
I
So
think I think I used both in Cyclone because there was just things I had to do that were like very simple, like make something like show and hide, and I didn't want to like open Visual Studio it to write C++ code to do something so simple. So
we
I
also
just
didn't have components for C++. Like LedWorks 5 has
yeah
components for C++.
yeah I created my own system that communicated with the application to spawn the class on the entity it was assigned. It was actually genius, but for the time,
Cool.
but yeah, everything in most things in Cyclone are C++. So.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. So, anyways, yeah. So, okay, tutorials. And I think this is kind of we were kind of leading to this. Um, there's no point in making a really nice engine unless you have good tutorials to show people how to use it. And often, okay, so people ask for tutorials, and they ask, how do I add a jetpack? How do I pick up a weapon? How do I add a teleporter? How do I add an inventory system? How do I add crafting? And it's like, uh, I've always had like trouble with this because like I write the low level documentation and I explain how everything works, and then it's like, okay, and then people say, okay, well, how do I make a game? I'm like, well, I just told you. But people will ask things like, how do I implement a specific feature? And the reason I have a lot of trouble answering this is because what you can't do, you can't implement each feature in isolation. Like once you start adding features, you're creating a system, you're creating a new system. And these, different gameplay features are never as compartmentalized as people would like them to think. Everything is highly dependent on everything else. So when people say like, how do I add this feature or that feature, what they're really saying is design a game that has every feature of every game, but I want you to do that, but I won't tell you what the game is. So it's like features with no design, which that just doesn't work at all. When you're designing something, you need to first start with defining what the full scope of functionality is, and then you come up with the least complicated system that will satisfy all of your requirements, because the more features you add, the more and more abstract and harebrained the whole thing becomes. So I think the way I'm going to approach this is I'm going to make separate self-contained games, and I'm not going to try to make the features and components from one game work in another game. Of course, I expect there'll be some overlap there, especially with like enemy AI. That might be something that gets shared, but I'm not going to try to build a game with every feature packed into one game, because that'll never work. And even if you were able to do it, like the minute you change one little thing in one game, it's going to affect every other game. So the way I'm going to approach this, I have 3 games in mind. One is your classic marble game. So that's controls, and then rings, collecting rings or coins, having moving platforms or obstacles, changing the level, show a high score table, and have multiplayer with like one other player where you're racing. That would be a good lesson there. I think I'm gonna focus on Lua programming for this. I'm not gonna try to tell people, hey, you can make a game without programming. Here's all the pre-made pieces. You just set up some parameters. I don't think I'm gonna do that. I think I'm gonna take a programming approach to it with Lua primarily. And I think Roblox actually really proves that Lua can, beginners don't have to be don't have to be averse to programming. You can teach programming. I think Roblox proves that. The second one I have in mind is a basic first-person shooter. So in this case, I'm not trying to show off. I'm just trying to go through and record like a 20-minute video for each of these things, explaining exactly how I did everything. Breaking it down one piece at a time. And I'm not trying to make the best game. I'm just trying to make something that's easy to understand. And then finally an RPG, because that's something that's very, people like that. There's a lot of overlap between those two, but people want to see like an inventory system and stuff like that. So the inventory system is not going to work with the marble game, and collecting rings for your score is not going to work with the first-person shooter. There'll probably be a lot of overlap between these two, because the only difference is really the camera angle. But that's kind of what I have in mind, and then that's good enough for launch. That'll give people some content to stay busy with for a while before any additional tutorials are available. Okay, so One Hit Wonder makes a good point. He's talking about 3 tiers of documentation. Tier 1 is API documentation. That's, what I understand documentation to be. That's this stuff. See, this is all I need to know to make a game. Because as long as I understand this, then I can easily understand everything else. Tier 3, project level or implementation docs. That's pretty close to what I'm describing, like example games. These are specific to the actual games or tools being built with the engine. Yeah. And he mentions a tier 2. This is where the how and why live. You describe how systems work, like animation, physics, input handling, what features are available, and common patterns or gotchas. These docs serve as a bridge between the raw API and practical usage. Yeah. Tutorials, conceptual overviews, usage examples belong here. Great for onboarding new developers or understanding unfamiliar systems. Yeah, and because as long as I understand the details, I understand everything from the details up. So as long as I understand the details, it's hard for me to, I automatically understand everything else. But a lot of people don't. What's that?
Coming from someone who is more of a practical learner, more of a hands-on, it's like getting shown once and then able to do it from then onwards. I understand where his tier 2 is coming from.
I think a lot of people do, probably, especially if you didn't write the engine. Yeah, I also have, that unfair advantage that I, happen to have written every line of code in here. So it's like, of course I know how it's going to work at a big picture. I would like to see, I would like to flesh this idea out more. Does this involve programming, or is it just visual? Is it just like walking you through the editor and talking about features? I don't know.
So basically, with my experience, it's all self-taught. It's all Lua, copy-paste, Bob's your uncle. I had a 7-year hiatus, and everything's changed. I'm Notepad++. I've been told to change over to Visual Code. Teach me like I'm a complete and utter noob. So this engine would be a perfect demonstration to show off everything for a beginner developer to have, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, well, with these tutorials, you're going to be thrown to use the integrated IDE now.
Yeah, that'll certainly make things a bit easier. Should this include code or be purely based on the editor? Are all the topics needed to be covered? I'll ask him that and see what he says.
Because that's the only point of view from where I stand is it's the editor. The coding isn't the problem. It's just the editor that I struggle with. So if there's like a sample documentation of like, I understand you've got the editor asset panel here as you're showing, but maybe
Outdated, but
updated with the new LeadWorks 5 eventually when you have the time, because I'm still struggling currently with my current models. I don't know if it's me reading things wrong or if I'm skipping or if I'm...
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, maybe we should have tutorials that like how to import a model, how to make a material.
Okay,
You
so
know,
that's like
by
middle
hand-
level.
Yeah, like how how to get animations to work. And then it could talk about how generating LODs and talk about making collision shapes, importing collision shapes, just like things that like when I try other engines and they all like suck in the end, but when I try them, my first aspect is okay, how do I make a first person camera and I can walk in a box room with a skybox. That's pretty much where like I have to start. And if it takes me like a long time to do it, then I give up. But that's usually like my first goal. I just want a first person camera controller, and I want like a box area and a skybox and a light. That's all I want when I start. And then I go, okay, how do I make my own materials? How do I import my own models? How do I add collision to those models? And it just becomes like a snowball effect of like, okay, now I did this, now I want to do this. How do I do that? That's how I approach things.
Okay, this is really good feedback. Now, what we need to do is take all of this and turn it into a complete list of like everything that should be covered, like I did with the game examples. The hardest part for me, I think, is just defining the scope and how things should be broken up. That's what I really struggle with. So if you have, feel free to add your ideas to this thread. I'll post a link.
The in-depth documentation thread.
Yeah, I'll post a link in the conversation here.
Okay.
Feel free to add your ideas there, and then maybe we can just put this all together into a complete list.
Yeah, because I have like ideas of like how like people should be introduced to the editor, but like because how I approach the editor, other people's editors, and the first thing I want to do is create a box room with a light and be able to run and jump around in it. That's pretty much my like first thing I want to do. This way I could get a feel of the physics and like there was I think it was Godot. It was 3 point something whatever, but I was like, oh yeah, I got first person camera, got box room, this is great. And then I placed a physics object in that box room, and I was kicking it around, and the box went through the wall. And I was like, yep, I'm not using this. so
So
I think that should be the next step too.
yeah, so yeah, what I really need to do though is take all of these ideas and put them together into a list to where everybody feels that it like covers all the major topics. Because otherwise, it's just like people asking me completely random questions.
Right. So I guess it'll be like how your first map, your first material, your first model, your first, yeah, I don't know what else you'll have first. Maybe first terrain, first,
We'll get a list to you, Josh. Don't worry.
Okay. So
And
now
I'm sure.
and how does this jive with like like how the like I have a section for the editor, and it talks about each of these sections. Should this be replaced with stuff that's
I
more
think that's I think that's more like a manual on all the should be a manual on all the features, while the but like your first map or whatever should be more of an apply kind of approach, where it's like, okay, you
okay?
because I'm just gonna like people are just gonna skip over this, and then they're just gonna be like, oh, how do I make a room? How do I make a material? How do I
Oh,
set
hell
up a room?
no. I will heavily disagree. I will heavily disagree with that. Not in haste, but I have gone through all of that documentation over the last few days trying to learn as much as I can for this. And
Oh, everyone's different, so no problem.
um, I'm saying this from heart. Um, Animation and video through learning might be better for certain people,
Oh, everybody
especially
wants videos. I
nowadays.
know. I know.
I know how hard it is to do the videos and everything, and I can possibly offer support for that. Me and you will talk further about that later on with the videos.
Sure.
But that's all I have to say about my end. Anyway,
Okay, so
I'm
it's
just gonna mute.
uh, no, that's fine. It's good that it's being. I'm glad to hear that those pages are being read. So for videos, I think that the right approach is probably make the written tutorial first, and then do the video the very very last. Because videos take so long to record that you really don't want to ever have to go back and change it. Hopefully. So not only does like everything about the application has to be absolutely finalized, but your way that you're explaining it also has to be totally finalized. So the video,
Not
I know everybody wants videos.
not saying you should do a video for every single documentation you've got on that asset list. Maybe like the main ones, like how to create your first world, as the other kleptomaniac you said earlier. It just the main components. It's the main stuff that would be useful for having a practical view, a visual view.
Yeah.
Maybe like a times if someone does a quick time lapse of like a 56 by 56 or this one of the smallest ones, quick crafting video, quick painting tutorial with the brushes. That's all it's needed. It's not needed an in-depth, detailed how to do it, point and shoot. It's all there in a video. People can slow it down, pause, skip, go to a different part of the video if they need to. Because on certain videos online currently, when I've gone online trying to get help for the Ultra Engine, I'm being led to Unity and Unreal Engine videos, which are useless for me at the moment,
Yeah.
in my
Well,
opinion.
it's yeah. For some reason, like it's like you've got the official documentation, and what people do is they go to YouTube and it's like I can't control what appears on YouTube when you do a search.
Right, but a lot of people YouTube their way out of every problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just gonna say I'm gonna be AFK for a little bit, but I would just say real quick that you should structure those articles as they are videos. This way, the videos can be made easily.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I might even like just use like AI to record, maybe just like train it on my voice and then just copy it, because then I won't have, because just recording audio takes a long time, because I always like stumble over my words when I'm trying to record.
Yeah, that's a use of AI.
Take a shot of whiskey or have a joint before the video. Calm your nerves. That normally works.
I did both, and it didn't help.
It's helping me
And
speaking to you right
and a
now.
line of cocaine. No, just
Oh, I
kidding.
wish, but it's. I wish. What's
No, drugs
cocaine?
are bad and they screw up your brain. But
What are drugs?
right. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'm definitely gonna put. I definitely understand the importance of this, and I am going to put a lot of effort into it. Um, but everything else has to be done first before I can especially do a record a video. So yeah, your feedback will definitely be helpful in figuring out like what the final layout of everything should be.
Well, I upgraded to the beta on Steam from the Ultra Pro engine to the beta version, and the UI for the whole engine looks stunningly better. In all honesty, I prefer it from what it was before, and it explains why I was having a lot of troubles with my world creating. Now that I'm on the beta version, I'm able to access much more, but I'm still having trouble with the water. That is the only thing. Once I get the water sorted, I'm off on the bridges.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, 'cause I don't think it like the color scheme changed, and then just like the location of some toolbar buttons changed to the left side. I don't. Did anything else
I think
major
it
change?
looks. I think it just looks more better laid out as it was before.
Okay.
But I'm an OCD. I click onto everything. The perks of having, yeah.
Yeah, that change just came about because a few weeks ago in one of these meetings, one of our users, he's not here today, but he just designed a concept and explained why he thought that layout would be better. And then I told him, well, okay, I'll try it, and we can see, you know, maybe it'll be better, maybe it'll be worse, but I'll just try it and we'll see. And then I put that out, and everybody liked it, and then I just decided to switch over it because I got used to that little change pretty quickly. And now it's like I agree with you. It's way better. I'm just curious. It's interesting to hear like you describe, like to hear your point of view describing that same idea.
In the previous version before I updated, I was having troubles creating like terrains. It wasn't as clearly put out as it is
Yeah,
now in the current version. It's like everything on the left hand side is clearly laid out as a brush tool terrain. It's all clearly laid out. Everything is where it should be, in my honest opinion. I
that
don't
is
think you should
interesting to
change it.
hear. That is really interesting to hear.
And that's coming from someone who doesn't really use gaming engines a lot, and I haven't had many options to use. I've used Godot, I've used Love 2D, basic game engines. Because of PC specs, I haven't had the opportunity to run Unity or Unreal engines, so I made this PC specially for this engine, and to have it like this much support like already going forward. It's like the second day you already jumped into my Discord and helped me out with a problem. No other gaming engine support team or dev team has ever done that. I will say so. 10 out of 10 for everything you're doing so far.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so Cobalt, I don't know if you want to explain what your game is yet, but whenever you feel like you're ready to share, you can. you know, we often like will give like a few minutes to anyone who wants to show off their game, like as it during these calls.
It's currently not in. It's not visually ready to be shown. I've got digital mock-ups of what things would look like. Will all be posted into the concepts and ideas channel in a sec. Give me 2 seconds.
So yeah, download system is still some work to do on it, but it's up and running. The IDE is almost done. A couple of things left. I think once both of those things are done, I think that would be a good time to put a new update out on the default branch to move this over to default, because we haven't had an update on there since December, and this would be a good stopping point. And then after those things, I think like a lot of effort needs to be made on tutorials. And for the simple example games I was talking about, I think we're gonna do like a more cartoonish style. Oh yeah, and let's see. Can we find the screenshot from last week that I was looking for? What was that game called? I know the person who made it. It starts with a G. It's Grievous Grounds. That's it. Might be misspelling it. I'm gonna find it. And he does some weird like misspelling of his name, so I can't find him. It's called Grievous Grounds. I posted it last week.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it, and like I thought you posted in general.
I did. Maybe it's Grievous. Let's see.
Oh, I found it. I'm gonna post it in chat. Give me a second. I'll post it in the voice call chat. There.
There we go. These little guys. I think these are cute, and they would make a good like main player for the tutorials. Something like this, similar.
Nice basic Roblox style. Doesn't need to have heavy detail. Easy to code. Easy to do. Simple. Does the job.
My other suggestion is that maybe they should have more of a plasticky look like Lego, but that's.
Oh yeah, this is Leadworks 4, so they didn't have the PBR, so these guys could be a little bit shinier, but something like that, and then you can easily swap out their accessories to, if he's a knight, you can make him a knight by giving him a helmet. You can make him a soldier by giving him a different helmet. But the whole idea is to stay focused on the gameplay and not get hung up on the artwork, and so make the artwork as simple as possible, but sort of stylized, and at least make it like sort of attractive within that, within those constraints. That's the idea, anyways. I haven't done anything more on that yet.
So it's like those weird baby models from Sandbox where they're like customizable, pretty much.
I don't know what that is.
Sandbox?
What's Sandbox?
Sandbox is I think Gary Newman's answer to Roblox. It's
No, Gary's mod.
Are you talking about
yeah, it's not Gary's mod. It's like supposed to be a successor to Gary's mod, but not really. It uses Source 2, but not really. It's just really weird. But it's like Gary's mod, but it does the whole Roblox thing of games within games kind of thing.
Maybe I'll take a look at that too. But yeah, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah, and if you guys have ideas for like other, how other lessons that should, or features that should be included in those games, then feel free to add that too in the discussion.
Same discussion, yeah.
Yeah, in-depth documentation. Because I've got all my ideas listed here, especially for the marble game. I actually looked around for a Unity marble game tutorial. I couldn't actually find like anything on their website. I could just find like a bunch of third-party things, but the marble game from Leadworks 4 was actually like the most advanced one I've seen, because that had a lot of moving parts, a lot of moving objects to get around. But I could use more ideas here. I don't know what a marble game consists of, like, besides just trying to get around obstacles. I could use more ideas for sure. The first-person shooter, this is a good opportunity to get like all of these things that people ask me how to do. This is a good opportunity to get a really simple example that we can all use made.
I don't want to say you want to carbon copy it, but old school Modern Warfare. Do you remember when you started a new game, you had to go through a training camp, and you had to go through each different weapon type, each different secondary type, how to fire it, how long you should cook it. I don't want to say carbon copy it, but maybe take some inspiration from that for the FPS shooter part of the tutorial.
Okay, so what's the title of the lesson?
What, as in for the tutorial?
Because I haven't played the game that you're saying. Like, I need to make a tutorial. It's a feature that I need to make a tutorial for and show people how to implement it. What is the feature that I'm adding, and what's the title of the tutorial that I add here?
So basically, the game is World War. It's simulated role play, as realistic as you can get. They've got their military bases in Afghanistan, and they've got a whole training base set up where it's got dummies, fake plastic shields covered with fake hostages and stuff. Dumb it down for this sort of thing, as you won't need to go as much into detail as that was a AAA game. This is a tutorial for a gaming engine to create possible AAA games in the future. So maybe dumb it down and say, oh, everything you see in here is fully expandable. You're able to detail, you're able to modify every single aspect in this tutorial. Follow the documentation once you've done basic controls, it unlocks the documentation. Health power up, once you've done that, it unlocks the documentation, shows you how to do it step by step. Instead of doing a video, film the whole video itself of one person doing the run through of that first person shooter template tutorial, freeze it at the steps, and then Bob's your uncle. That's your video. There's no audio needed. Use the basic controls document and use AI to come up with a script. Cover that in the AI. Split the video up into the different parts. That might help. This is coming from someone who studied media design for 4 years. I'm just suggesting it from my point of view. That's my only suggestion I could think that might help better the tutorial experience.
Okay. I don't understand what you just said.
Yeah, I'll post a video explaining it. Don't worry.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I mean that's okay. We're brainstorming here. But yeah, so any feedback you guys have next, like especially next week, this is the place to post it, and I'll definitely be looking at it, and we'll discuss this again. We still have some time before I start the process. So any other questions about any of that stuff before we move on?
Nope, not from me.
Okay.
Nope.
Because you know what that reminds me of?
Our sponsors.
It reminds me of this segue to our sponsor. I just want to take a moment to give a shout out to all the people who have recently given us a thumbs up on Steam. Really appreciate it. That includes T-Tiki, Drogowit, The Cuzzy, Cap Crunch, Metal OS, Acknowledgia, Knievels, Ricochet, Andy, Gashish Master, Marcy 3D, Gamer, Saru71, Mazel, Timmy, You, Plaza, Gravitate Games, Lilybite, Wreckage, Technofox, Casmic, Doctor Who 3D GDX, JD Gaming, Reap Blue, Anthony Python, CZX, 188888888, Edel and Trick, Marikai JC, Kent, Old Amsterdam, Drake Black, Merrick, Project Mayhem, Pydrate, James W. Harden, Troyanator, Altitude, Lucky Luke, Slick 29, Gavaris 3, Waxy, Renha, Cuneo, Tuerto, and Jessica 07. Thank you guys. Golf clap, please. Okay, so with that, I'm going to conclude this video. Thank you all for joining.